and you are watching TV47. I am Shiksha Arora. Welcome to the show. This conversation right now, we are discussing toxic relationships. Now, this is something that, it is quite a relatable topic because at some point in your life, I'm sure you've experienced a relationship where no matter what was going wrong, you stayed and you didn't leave. Now, the reason behind this, who knows? This is something that we will discuss. And of course, we'll try and get a breakdown of why people actually end up staying in toxic relationships. What are the reasons as to why a human being would possibly want to be in a relationship where things are not working out, you are not getting fulfillment, you are not getting any sort of happiness, it is draining, but at the same time, you still don't leave? Could it be maybe children are involved? Could it be there's other financial factors involved? Well, we will be talking about that in details, of course, getting an insight from the experts in studio. With me, I have Judith Gerechi. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Lovely.
Thank you so much.
Of course, Judith is the wellness advocate and champion for women and vulnerable children rights. And of course, the gentleman here is Dr. Julius Kimani, our able counselor. So thank you so much for being on my seat today. And as we discuss this particular topic, remember, if you would like to be a part of this conversation at TV47 Kenya, that is where you can find us on Facebook at Shiksha Arora. You can also find us on X at TV47 News. Talk to us. Tell us, have you ever been in a toxic relationship? Have you ever stayed in a toxic relationship? And why did you do that? Why would you want that for yourself? I'll start off with Dr. Julius. Maybe you can start off by telling us why people would possibly want to be in a relationship where you're not happy. At the end of the day, we're all out here to have peace of mind, to be happy. And if something isn't giving you that happiness, instead, on the flip side, it's just making you sad and upset and disappointed constantly, you're just heartbroken all the time. Why would you do that yourself?
Now, there are several factors that will drive people from leaving a certain relationship.
Yeah.
Number one, of course, there are cultural factors.
Absolutely.
Where people have, they look at that marriage and they're like, they have never seen in the past anyone leaving marriage, and anyone who divorced was probably treated in a wrong way.
It's a stigma.
Or there's a stigma. They lost their respect. The second is also dependency. You find I've sat with so many, especially women, where they're like, I don't know where to go. I don't have money. If I leave this guy, what will my kids eat? So because somebody is so dependent on another, they cannot be able to leave. Others is, they have nowhere to go. They have no family. There are people you find, especially ladies, where I've heard women say, I don't have my mom, I don't have my dad, I don't have a sister. This is the only family I have. Though this guy is a bad guy, I have nobody else to run to. So you find there are people who will stay. And then number four, there are people who stay in a toxic relationship hoping things will change.
Absolutely.
And you find maybe it could be a man or it could be a lady, and they keep on getting the promises of things will change. So they are good for maybe a few months, then they get back to where they used to be. So that constant hope of looking forward to something that will change in the future can keep somebody in a very, very toxic relationship.
Okay. Right. So, Judith, I think Dr. Julius has given us a breakdown of what are the reasons as to why people end up staying in these toxic relationships. Maybe you can tell us why you should not stay in a toxic relationship.
First of all, being in a dysfunctional environment can be very detrimental to your mental health.
Yes.
And number two, it can also make you a very dull person because you will be a walking, just a volcano waiting to erupt. Because the moment...
Always triggered.
Yes. And every time you get into any kind of relationship, your work, your friends, you will always be the person that is causing chaos. By default, because again, when you are so used to dysfunction, the thing that you are accustomed to becomes you wanting to be in that continuous cycle, and you will be projecting that onto your friends. So it becomes a cycle where you now start projecting how you feel to other people, and dysfunction always trickles down to how you feel about yourself, your self-esteem, your self-awareness. When you do not know who you are as a person, then it becomes very difficult for you to thrive in any relationship. Yeah, so dysfunction can really, it can make you continue staying in that cycle of toxic relationships.
Okay, now if you've been in a toxic relationship, we'd love to hear from you. Please do call us. What was your experience? Why did you stay, or when did you leave? When did you realize that I need to get out of this relationship as soon as possible? What was it like for you? I would love to know. We have counselors, remember, in-house right here. They'll be also answering your questions. If you have any questions for them, this is free therapy. This is your chance to actually get free advice, which doesn't really happen all the time, and we're offering it to you. We want to help you. So please do WhatsApp us on 0793 267 279, or indeed you can call us on 0795 045 864. Call us as well and let us know what your experience was like. Now, Dr. Julius, we have seen situations where, you know, a partner and two partners, they just are not compatible sometimes. They're constantly fighting. They're constantly having, you know, really big fights. Fights where you can't even reconcile with your partner.
True.
Right? You reach a point where these fights are just getting worse by the day, and there is nothing like things getting better anytime soon. So is that one sign that you should know that, okay, wait, we have irreconcilable differences, number one. We are not able to see eye to eye. Do you think that should be a sign enough for you to leave?
I would say this. Any relationship, especially marriage, you'll always find there are conflicts.
Yes.
There will be disagreements. And those are things that usually happen. Just like if you have a car, it will break down once in a while.
Absolutely.
But that does not mean that you jump out and leave it at the road without trying to repair it.
Okay.
But there are indicators that will tell you this thing is a toxic relationship. Now, one of them is fights. And they can be in form of physical fights. They can be in form of verbal abuses, which actually makes that person to feel useless in that relationship. So I usually say the first thing is take a back seat. Each one of you take a moment where you're able to reflect and ask yourself, why are we fighting? Is it because maybe we don't listen to each other? Or is it that maybe there is something that cannot be able to change? There's a character in one person that may not be able to change. So I will say the first thing that you ought to do, and if you're the person who is probably feeling like you're already tired, you need to take a back seat and ask yourself, is it really healthy?
Is it worth it?
Because is it worth it? Because there's nothing as bad when you are in a relationship that takes you down, takes down your mental health. It can even take down your physical health. We've seen people who have gotten into depression.
Yes.
We have seen people who have gotten into anxiety attacks because every time they're anticipating a fight, they get into this mode of fear. And so you need to ask yourself, are you getting healthier? Will this thing, will you be able to survive this long if you continue on that particular journey? If sincerely you value your good health, your mental health, your physical health, you need to take back a moment and really, really think it out.
Okay.
And if you can't, you feel that maybe you need both to continue, then seek help beyond two of you. Because if two of you are constantly fighting and you're not solving anything, then probably you need someone to come in. Just like we have nations which are fighting each other, and another nation coming in and saying, let's reconcile these two people. Yeah, that's the way I would look at it.
All right. Now, Judith, maybe you can tell us examples of toxic marriages. You know, we have spoken about the factors that lead to toxic relationships or marriages, why some people opt not to get out of that. Maybe you can tell us examples of toxic marriages or relationships.
Yeah, thank you so much. So first of all, we keep referring to other people as toxic, forgetting that you know, you can always look inside as well, because you could be the toxic partner.
Absolutely.
Why that is the case is because sometimes you are in a cycle of constant lying. You feel the need that you have to lie to someone. Now that should tell you that you are in a relationship that is very dysfunctional. Because if you find yourself in a situation where you can't be able to tell your significant other the truth, or you have to withhold some information, then there's a problem. That is a red flag. Now, if you are in a relationship where you constantly have to hide things, you have to keep maybe doing things when the other partner is not around, or when the other partner doesn't know what you're doing, then that is a very dysfunctional and toxic relationship. Now, when you are in a relationship, for example, with someone, and you cannot tell them that about your past, maybe you have a child that is at home and you're getting into a relationship and you cannot get yourself to tell this person, then that should be the first thing that tells you that is a toxic relationship. You cannot function in a situation like that.
Okay.
Another thing is whereby you can't be able to talk about your friends or your social circle to your significant other, then that is a really big problem. It means that there's some miscommunication, there's something that is not adding up. There's no straight line in that unity.
Right.
So you have to start looking at where is the dysfunction. Now, look inward as well. What is it about you that you feel like you can't do certain things? What is it about yourself that you feel like you cannot address certain things? Because you could be the toxic partner that is withholding information because maybe of a cycle from your past, maybe because of past traumas, and you've not dealt with it. That is why we tell people you need to seek therapy after every relationship. You have to mourn that relationship for you to be able to move to the next cycle. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Dr. Julius, when we talk about the impact that toxic relationships have on your physical, mental, emotional well-being in the long run, you know, it does affect you and it's quite detrimental, and Judith has also mentioned the same. So in the long run, what do you think happens to a human being who has been in a cycle of abuse, in a cycle of a toxic relationship?
There are several things that can happen. One, you compromise your standards. You begin to accept that this is probably me. This is what relationships are. I have seen people who move from one abusive relationship to the next one because they have accepted that maybe being hit is okay, being abused is okay. And so it can put you into that box where you begin to accept.
So that's your new normal.
Yeah, exactly. You begin to accept that that's the status of who you are. Number two, you find the loss of self-esteem. That person reaches a place whereby they lose value in themselves. They have to look for validation. And when such a kind of a person gets into a relationship with another person, they are hungry for emotional support.
Yeah.
You will find they actually now become toxic because they begin to demand, and maybe they're not feeling the love. They keep on,
validation.
Exactly. So they keep on demanding for validation and assurance, either with words or with gifts and all those kind of things. And of course, there's something else that happens to such kind of person. They also get sick. We have a lot of people who are depressed in marriage. They got into that state. They are always unhappy, and it is always good to ask yourself, are you constantly unhappy in a marriage, in a relationship? That could be a sign that that relationship you are in is not meeting your needs, and probably it's a high time to review it and seek for help. But unfortunate thing that happens, as you said, this is a free counseling.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't look for help.
Yeah.
They keep quiet, and they just take a back seat and they say, let go. Whichever direction this relationship will head to, I will go with it.
Exactly. I've accepted it. Go with the flow.
Exactly.
Right. And when we talk about toxic relationships, I think one attribute of a toxic partner is somebody who is a gaslighter, somebody who's a manipulator. Right? Maybe, Judith, you can tell us what exactly is gaslighting in a relationship for those who don't know, because this is a very heavy word and we've heard it so many times that, yeah, you're gaslighting me. Can you stop gaslighting me? Why are you always gaslighting me? But sometimes you don't even understand what the word means and you just use it in context and you're just confused because you've seen other people use it.
Yes.
Maybe you can break that down for us. What exactly is gaslighting in a relationship and how do you deal with a gaslighter?
First of all, I tell people you need to have some level of self-awareness to be able to get to a place where you can discern certain things. Because when you're in a relationship where someone consistently lies to you and then they want to make you feel like you are the one who's confused, you do not understand the lie.
That's what gaslighting is.
Yes. Then they keep reminding you, like every time you want to have a conversation about what they have done wrong, they keep telling you, you know, it's in your head. You're the one that is thinking about it too much. You're overthinking things. Now, you cannot be overthinking things if something has consistently been happening to you over a period of time. If you've been fighting for like 3 months, for example, and you want to have a conversation about it, and this person keeps reminding you that, you know, you didn't hear me correctly. Maybe you didn't understand what I said. I didn't mean it like that. what exactly did you mean? Because you see, words are very powerful. And the thing is, when you tell someone something, you mean it exactly the way you said it. The only thing is we want to make ourselves feel better about what we say by telling the other person that I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to say it like that. I was upset. No, you said exactly what you wanted to say. You only looked for a reason for you to be able to have a platform to use it as an excuse. So when you get to a relationship where every single time you want to bring up something, and then your partner or your significant other keeps reminding you that, no, I didn't do it like that, or no, you didn't remember, or you didn't see it like that, or you see a text message and then you want to confirm, maybe it's been deleted, then you will be told, no, you see, you want to put things on me all the time. That is gaslighting. Now, how you deal with gaslighting is, first of all, understand and ask yourself certain questions. Are you trauma bonded with this person? Because when you go through a cycle of abuse, you form something we call trauma bonding. Then you feel like you're attached to this person. Then you start having that fear of you don't know what will happen if that relationship breaks down. Yes. So you start asking yourself, now if I leave, where will I start from? I've invested in this relationship. I've been here for 4 years. Now when I leave, where do I go to? Where do I start from? We need to shift our mindset from where will I start from to what is it that I want for myself?
Right.
What do I want for me? What represent me as a person? And as Daktari has mentioned, when you are in a place where you can't ask for help, you will not be able to know that you're going through anything. You will continue in that cycle, and that is where people find themselves in situations where they're suicidal.
Yeah.
Because you start feeling like you're worthless, your self-esteem goes down. And I'm telling you, it happens by default because you will start resenting your significant other. And that resentment will build up to something where you will be looking at yourself and you think like the way I'm dressing is the problem. Maybe it's how I look that is the problem. Maybe it's my hair.
You start blaming yourself.
Yes. Then you start looking for options like I need to change my skin tone. I need to start maybe putting on weave. I need to start dressing like this and that, because in your mind you think that is what the other person wants. When in real sense is that other person, they have their own insecurities that they are projecting onto you. Yes.
Okay, very, very well put. Now remember, you can also be a part of this conversation. As I said, our WhatsApp line is open, 0793 267 279. Talk to us, send us your messages. If you have any questions regarding this topic, that is toxic relationships, toxic marriages, if you are in one, how has your experience been so far? Why are you still in it? What are some of the things that are holding you back, holding you from moving on to the next partner, or just breaking out of this cycle of being in toxicity?
Treat women. So if you don't take a step about it, then you're actually destroying your life and you're destroying those kids' life. Of course, you have said there is no job. The first thing is to see what is it that you can be able to do out of, even if it's a small thing, you can be able to do for yourself. And I always say to ladies, because most of the ladies are the ones who say, I can't live because I have no job. You must find something to do with your own hands before you even settle in any marriage. Because if you cannot do anything, then if it becomes abusive, you will remain there. Number two, there are authorities. If you can be able to handle this man, there is the police. If somebody is beating you, it is a high time that he knew that you can be able to go to the police station and report an abusive relationship, because that ends up in being assault. I know so many people have defended relationship. You're like, sasa baba ya watoto, ama ni mama labda, because there are men who are also being beaten.
Yeah.
Huyu mama or this, if they are jailed, what will happen? Let me say this. You would rather, if that person realizes that you can take another step to go to a police station or report maybe to the children's office or the chief's office, they will realize that they cannot continue doing that what they are doing. And most of the people, especially men who are physically abusive, to their wives, they're actually people who are very timid. They are afraid of a lot of things. And so when you put boundaries and you are strict on it, you will find you can actually get assistance. Number 3, it is also good to reach out. Sometimes we cover. It is important to cover a relationship, but there's a time you reach you cannot cover. There you can go to, for example, a religious leader.
Yeah.
Don't hide that. Look for another man who you can report this issue to. But at the end of the day, for any person who is saying, I am there because I don't have the money, I would pray that you get something that you can be able to do with your own hands, that you can support yourselves. Kids are better when they grow in an environment where it is healthy.
Even without both parents.
Yes.
True.
Yeah. And what about you, Judith? What are your thoughts? What would you like to tell this lady, especially as you are, a professional, you are somebody who has dealt with such people before, and I'm sure you've experienced such cases before, considering that you come from a field where the welfare of children is something that you really look into as one of your priorities in your job.
Yes.
So what would you like to say to this lady?
First of all, I really want to tell her that I'm really so sorry, to just know that she's going through such kind of pain. And number 2, I can't even tell her that I understand, because as someone who's gone through a cycle of abuse, what I can be able to tell her is, number 1, there's always a way out. And number 2, imagine if you die in that marriage, those kids, that man will find another alternative, and your children will not have the same, the same kind of life that you're offering to them. So even if she doesn't have anything, I would advise her, number 1, seek help, like run to the authorities, report it, document it, so that it's very clearly outlined that you've been going through abuse, and then seek therapy as you plan your way out, because you cannot continue to stay in that cycle. Number 3, what that is doing is, it is you showing your daughters that it's okay for a man to put their hands on you. It is you teaching your son that, beating women is okay. And we cannot live in a society where we actually massage this man's ego, because as the doctor has mentioned, every single man that is physically abusive to their wife, they have some serious level of insecurities. They are just projecting it onto her. And because she can't fight back, and this man actually knows there's nothing she can do. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't have a source of income. So for him, he knows this lady is not going anywhere. Now, use that to your advantage. Plan your way out, and then ask yourself, what is it that you can be able to do? If you don't have the education, like the educational papers to be able to get an employment, you can start a business. You can do an online business. You can go online. There are so many free courses on YouTube. You can learn something, learn a skill, be proactive, work towards getting something for your children, because you standing up is showing your kids that, it is not acceptable to stay in an abusive marriage. And that is also destroying the children psychologically, because seeing their mom being abused consistently is, those kids in the next 10 years, they will be in therapy sessions trying to heal from that. They will get into dysfunctional relationships. So it's a loss for everyone. And I really need to tell her that walking away is not such a bad thing. Like, there is that fear of the unknown, but it's okay for you to walk away. If she needs help, we can share our contact information. We can be able to just reach out and see what we can be able to do for her, because there's so many things women can do out here, even as a single parent.
This is something that is quite common, financial abuse in toxic relationships, because one party obviously has the upper hand when it comes to finances, and they have the power to dictate what this relationship is going to look like. And their say is now, because they're the dominant, they're the alpha in the relationship, they usually end up being the abuser in most cases. What would you like to say? Let's flip the coin. What would you like to say to somebody who is the abuser, and somebody who's using their money, their finances, to dictate that this is okay and this toxicity is something that now I will continue with the rest of our lives, take it or leave it? And because the partner does not have the power to go anywhere, they don't have the capability to start life on their own, they will take it in these cases. Dr. Julius.
Now, I will say to somebody who is an abuser, you have a problem. And you need to, in the beginning,
Yes.
Because many abusers don't want to look on the inside. I think she mentioned something about checking on your inside.
Yeah.
Why are you, for example, denying your wife finances or denying her the opportunity to go get work in the name of fear that she may get relationship outside there? She can also get relationship while you're working, even at home. She can.
Yes.
You can become a man's your spouse's watchman. And I usually say it takes just 5 minutes for a relationship, or even for somebody to cheat. So the thing is, for somebody who is using abuse, you need to understand your role.
Yeah.
Because we have both. We have women who are abusing men. We've heard of men who have lost their jobs, and because their wives are working, they now push their husbands, and they call them names, and they cannot even cook for them or provide for them, simply because a man lost a job. You need, if you are that kind of a person, you need to realize that you have not understood your role.
Okay.
Because if you are a man, God has put you there to be a provider.
Yes.
He has put you there to be a protector. Now, when you begin to beat your wife, that means it is like a policeman who begins to turn the gun on citizens instead of protecting them. So you need to ask yourself, what is threatening you? Because anybody fights what threatens you.
Yes.
You can't kill what is weaker than you. So that means you as a man, and you're beating your wife, you are feeling weaker than her. That's why you want to bring her down to your level.
Okay.
Now, if you're so abusing a man, that means you either grew up in an abusive relationship family, whereby either your mom was being beaten, and now you are like, I will not allow any man to beat me again. So you also need help.
Because you've also gone through your fair share of trauma growing up.
Yeah, there's a lot of
environment that is filled with abuse, right?
True.
I've got another message on WhatsApp. Remember, you can keep the conversation going. Ask us any questions if there's something that you want to talk about. We've got two very able experts in studio. We have Dr. Julius and Judith, who have really dealt with these kind of situations before when it comes to toxic relationships, and they will be the best people to advise you, to answer your questions. So please do let us know, have you ever been in a toxic relationship? And if yes, what was your experience? Why did you stay? If not, are you still in one? Please talk to us. We've got a message on WhatsApp. So the number, by the way, is 0793-267-279. Talk to us. You can also call us live on 0795045864. Remember, you can stay anonymous if you like. We will not say your name. Don't worry. We would like to protect you in case this is something that you're worried about, you're afraid about. Please don't be afraid of that. I've got a message that says, good morning. I don't know if mine is toxic. We can't have a conversation because it will end in a quarrel, especially if I ask a question. But if she asks, I should always respond. And I usually do all of this to avoid quarrels. I'm actually losing myself to a point. I am no longer intimate, and I am not cheating also. Interesting.
Very, very interesting.
And the fact that it started off with, I don't know if this is toxic.
That's a man, eh?
That's a man. This is a sign on its own that it's toxic.
It is very toxic.
Because the minute you start doubting if it's toxic, you already know it's gotten there.
Yes.
So this is somebody who says that they can't have a conversation with this woman.
Yes.
Because if they do, it ends up in a fight.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, if this person starts a conversation and if there's no response, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And they're not feeling like themselves, they're losing themselves, they're not intimate anymore. What would you like to say to them, Judith?
One, that is an emotionally abusive partner.
Okay.
And that is a really, really very manipulative person.
Yes.
Because when you get into a relationship where conversation is one-sided, and when you want to reciprocate, you are, there's that passive-aggressive attack, and then you get now the accusations. Yes, you get those accusations of, when you get to an argument point, instead of having a conversation, that in itself outlines that relationship it's broken down. Something is wrong somewhere. And what I would advise the gentleman is first of all, seek help, because I usually say we all are walking traumatized human beings. We need therapy. Now talk to someone, but more importantly, talk to your partner. Set clear boundaries, because again, people are manipulative because they want to maintain you within the same cycle. They want to just have you around because they don't want to let you go, but they also don't want to let you all in, because the relationship is supposed to be smooth, peaceful. It's supposed to be nice. whether there are hiccups here and there, it's supposed to be smooth sailing. Now, the moment it becomes bumpy and you don't want to address the bumps, then there's a breakdown. There's a breakdown in communication, then there's also a breakdown in terms of this person is trying to emotionally abuse you because they want to remain in control. Now, when they remain in control, why are they doing that? Is because, number one, they could be hiding something, or number two, they could be afraid of communicating their feelings because of whatever insecurities they're going through. So you must address that by clearly outlining your boundaries. I usually tell people, articulate your life. Speak on the terms of which you want to be addressed, because you teach people how to treat you. And the moment you let this continue, is they will continue treating you the same way, and you will never flourish in that relationship.
Yeah.
And then you will waste your time. You are investing your emotions, your time, and you see time is something you can, money, of course, and time is something you will never recover, because at least money you can continue making it, but you will never recover time. So I would advise him to take those steps, and if it doesn't work out, again, I usually tell people, there is something called walking away, and it's okay. It's okay. You will be hurt, you will feel pain, but guess what? You will get better. You will heal with time. Yes. Yes.
And you will potentially find someone who is
appreciates you. Yes.
Appreciates you.
Yes.
You know, you'll be happier then eventually.
Absolutely.
I feel like this is the reason that stops a lot of people from leaving.
Yes.
Because it's like, what if I never find somebody who loves me this much? But that's not love.
In fact, that fear is what controls a lot of people into staying in toxic relationships. When you start thinking of things like, he does things for me, or he da-da-da, my family knows him, we've been together.
You make up excuses for him.
Yes,
or her.
And the thing is, it's because of your own fear. The moment we work on our fears, the moment you let go and you tell yourself, you know what, I've invested in this relationship, I would have loved to continue with it, but it no longer serves me. What do? Walk away. Imagine in a week's time, in a month's time, you will feel a sigh of relief. Of course you will be hurt because there are so many memories, but in due course you will feel better.
Let's bring in the aspect of intimacy. You know, sometimes I feel people stay in relationships just because they are very compatible physically.
Yes.
But they're not compatible emotionally, mentally. You know, there's other factors that come into play. And the reason they just stay is because of the sex.
Yes.
And that's the truth. Dr. Julius, especially for men, I feel like sometimes they don't want to leave a woman because, you know, they are very attracted to this woman and they're very happy with the way things are in the bedroom, but now when you're taking it outside of the bedroom, things are completely bizarre. Like there's no future. You know, sometimes there's abuse involved, there's domestic violence as well, but like that aspect is what is keeping them strong and keeping them in the relationship. So in such situations, what should a partner do where they feel like they won't ever be compatible with another partner physically?
Of course, I will always say if both of them are happy intimately, then that means there's something that can work out.
Okay.
And what happens with a lot of people in a relationship, they don't want to further their knowledge on how to handle it, because relationship is not about just two of you and knowing each other and smiling with each other and cooking for each other and going out with each other. It is about learning. It's like this job that you have here.
Yes.
You have to keep on advancing. Now, if you ask couples that are listening, how many of them have attended a seminar that empowered them more? You will find almost a big number doesn't.
Right.
If you ask guys, how many of you have read a book on how to treat your wife? Many of them will tell you, I haven't. How many of you have even gone to YouTube? Because nowadays food has been chewed for you. You can go there and find some tips. You'll find people are not advancing themselves. And so the reason why many relationships are toxic is because people do not know how to solve conflicts. And if they can be able to handle that, and go and find out how to handle conflicts, it will change a lot.
Okay.
But I will say this as well. If the only thing that is keeping you in that marriage is the sexual intimacy, eventually that person will grow old. That person will lose their attraction, or what we call the virtual flavor that they have in you. They will lose it. And the moment they lose it, then you'll find maybe if it's the man who just is in there because of the lady, he will leave and look for somebody who was maybe like the lady. If it is the lady who is staying over there, good guys will come along. Okay. And so you need, I would say, you need to find another common ground. And
aside from just that intimacy.
aside from that, what is it that, apart from just liking my body,
Yeah.
what else is it that we can be able? Because if you stay with that way, you will find 5 to 10 years later, you will not even have built a house because you're not financially compatible. There's nothing you're doing financially. Your kids will not be happy because when they come in and you are unhappy in the bedroom, then you bring unhappiness in the sitting room where your kids are.
Okay.
So find an extra ground on where you can develop it and nurture it and make it strong so that you can stay longer.
Not really. But I want to just changia something. You know, I want the man there to address toxic relationship when it comes to the side of men, because most of the time mnaongea sana on the side of women, but men out here are going through a lot, and this is something that we need to address. It's only because men are not ready to come out and talk about it, but men are going a lot, through a lot.
Yes.
We need to come out and talk about it and be at elimination so that wajue that this is toxic and this is not toxic, so that we can understand on the way forward. Because men are going through a lot.
Yeah.
Wanaume wanaenda huko nje wanajinyonga, wanapitia a lot, and no one is talking about it. We are only talking about women, the side of women. And even now, everywhere, saizi kufanywa something na a lady, hata ukienda kotini, most likely you will not get justice. But when a man does something, it becomes something that kila mtu anaongelea, and we need to come out and talk about side ya men. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you very much, Godfrey. Dr. Julius, what would you like to tell our friend who is upset that men don't talk about it? We're always saying that toxic relationships is where the partner is a male, and of course the male partner is responsible for the abuse and the toxicity. But in reality, he says that, well, men are also going through a lot and women are just as toxic, and we don't talk about it as much. What would you like to advise men who are watching and experiencing toxic relationships, or they just feel like they don't want to be open about it? Yeah.
I believe the reason why we don't have a lot of statistics on what men are going through, because we don't speak.
Yes.
And we keep quiet.
Let aside looking for professionals, even amongst each others.
Yeah.
When you go to a bar, you talk about football, you talk about politics, you talk about other women you find attractive, but you don't talk what's happening in your home or in your relationship.
There's a lot that is happening, and one of the things, of course, what I've heard about, you find a lot of denial. Men, as you mentioned about intimacy,
yes,
there are a lot of men outside there that have been denied their sexual rights by their wives, simply because they can't provide. And so a man stays in the house, he's quiet, because the demand is on, if you can't provide, you can't have the cake.
Interesting.
And so
that still happens in 2024?
A lot.
Really?
Yes.
And so and that has
like
gone.
I'm living under a rock. Because I thought those are things that we used to hear in the days of our grandparents.
It has gone a notch higher. Now it's like, kama hawezi, you can't provide, then you can't also be provided for.
Interesting.
And you find a lot of people, especially men who are who are religious, because of their values, that they cannot step out of their marriages, so they continue suffering silently. There are a lot of men who have got no jobs, or probably they are not earning as much as now the ladies are earning, because today we're in an equal opportunity field where a woman can earn even much more than the man.
Women are CEOs these days.
And now most of the times the abuse comes in, what is yours as a man is ours. And what is the woman's
is mine,
is hers. And so you find that unequal financial thing creates a lot of turmoil in men. And men find it very hard to ask for money.
Yeah.
Maybe a wife has got money and they cannot go to them and tell them, I need help. And so it puts them in a very hard status where every time maybe you're being referred to, and kama ni watoto, uliza baba yako.
Yeah.
And the guy probably is broke. And he cannot be able to say the word broke to his children. So that is another area where you find a man who is providing, who is not financially stable, being even denied food. There are so many men who are sleeping hungry. Wacha nikuambie ukweli, if you see a lot of guys wakitembea na mahindi huku nje na miwa, na mitura, is because they know maybe that's the only meal they will have.
Wow.
And so there is a lot of abuse that goes on, especially for men.
And it's not physical.
And it's not physical.
Yeah.
Most of the abuse that happens to men is emotional, where you're being called names and you're being compared to other men.
Being told you're useless.
Why can't you drive a car like so and so?
Yes.
Why can't you buy a house? Kwani wanaume wengine wanakuwaga na miguu nne. And so that man will keep quiet. He'll be flipping over TV channels, but he's seeing nothing.
Yeah.
Because he's emotionally abused. So, but what I will say to the men is that you also need to rise up and realize that you're a man because you're a man, and you provide more. Sometimes you may not just provide the money, but even the security. The availability of a man somewhere will do two things: either provide security or insecurity.
Okay.
And if you're a good man, then you need no, I'm a provider of security.
Not insecurity. Wow. Those are some very wise words. I'm going to use that in my caption on Instagram. As a man, you have two roles.
Yeah.
To provide security or insecurity. If you know, you know. Interesting. Now, Judith, let's talk about narcissism. A lot of people don't, again, understand who a narcissist is. What is narcissism? Even this word, it's so heavy. Narcissism. And why do people end up in relationships with narcissists? And once you find out that your partner is actually a narcissist, you still stay with this person, regardless of the fact that they have no empathy for you. They're always, not compassionate. They don't listen. Everything has to be done their way. So maybe you can tell us who a narcissist is and why people still stay with narcissists in 2024.
It's a touchy subject. Narcissists are, for lack of a better description, people who are full of themselves.
Okay.
They are entitled. And then they are people who think they know everything.
They own you?
Yes, they can control you. And other people don't know any better. Now, when you are in a relationship with a narcissist, these are people who do not show empathy.
Yeah.
These are people who are not remorseful. They are saying sorry for them is like telling them they have a terminal illness. They would rather die than tell you they are sorry. And the thing that keeps people in relationships like this is most narcissists are providers. They have more money.
Yes.
They have a stable job.
Yes.
And then they have that self-worthiness, they just think so highly of themselves, like no one else can match up to them. They
belittle the partner.
Yes. And then they like demeaning you, putting you down every single time so that you can continue being dependent on them.
Interesting.
The moment you become self-aware and you start doing things for yourself, the first thing a narcissist will do is they will start making you feel inadequate.
Wow.
They will keep reminding you you're not worthy, you're not good enough. There are people who are in relationships, they tried working out and then they were told, you will never find a man like me or a woman like me. You will never find someone who treats you like me or takes care of you like me. Yeah. Because they want you to keep remembering that you are attached to them by hook or crook. You need to stay there no matter what.
Yeah.
Now, for you to be able to deal with a narcissist is you really have to have some serious self-esteem. And when I talk about articulating your life, it includes being very self-aware. Search yourself and find out what are your areas of strength, what are your areas of weaknesses. Then work on your areas of weaknesses because that is what other people use to put you down. And narcissism don't just apply in relationships, even in friendships. Even in your place of work, you will find that you have a narcissistic boss who has identified your weak spot. They will maximize on it. They will make you feel so worthless. You will work in a space where you don't even feel like going to work. But because you earn a salary and you need to make a living, you will keep going there developing ulcers, having H. pylori left, right, and center. You will keep going to hospital for ulcers medication, and you'll never get better until you look inside. I always say, for narcissists, the best way you can deal with them is have some sense of self-worth.
Okay.
Put yourself on a higher pedestal, and then keep reminding yourself, because this is also a journey. Because again, when you deal with a narcissist, they put you down so bad that you start thinking less of yourself.
Yes.
You start feeling like, okay, you can't even talk in their presence.
Yeah.
You keep thinking, okay, maybe if I say something,
I'll say something wrong.
Yes, I will mispronounce. I will say something that will tick him, the wrong way. I will say something that will ike him. And these are people who lose, even if you're
lose
in
your
public.
Confidence.
Kabisa, you can be in public with this person. They don't have to tell you anything. They will just look at you.
You'll just keep quiet.
Yes. Or they will touch you to remind you they are there and they're in charge. Yes. So we really have to have that sense of self-worth. And I just want to mention something. There's a clip that was going around social media of a gentleman that the wife was brought, in the middle of the night by a man drunk.
Yeah.
Now, for you to get to a place where you have the courage and confidence to get home at that time, being brought by another man in the presence of your husbands, that tells you that that is high level of narcissism, whereby you do not have respect for this person. You don't have respect for your household. Because I usually say, no matter what you do out there, there's something that, you respect your matrimonial home. You cannot bring someone home at 1 a.m. in the presence of your husband, however much you disrespect that person.
Yes.
So that is like, when someone is narcissistic, they think that you can't do anything to me. There's nothing you can do. And that gentleman said very clearly, I searched inside myself, and what did he do? He walked away, picked his car keys and left. He would have done something different. He would have fought with this man.
Yeah.
But because he sat and thought of himself first, he walked away.
Interesting. All right. I've got another message on WhatsApp. It says, hello, my husband is a very calm man and he is everyone's darling. So when we argue and look for help, people side with him. I have a week-old baby and he's not helping me mentally. The other day he said, sikupendi. And earlier he told me that he doesn't need me to raise his kid. It's a 2-year-old marriage. What do I do? I want to say something here. When you give birth, right, when you have just had a baby, there's this called some condition. I don't know, it's not a condition, but it's maybe you can tell me what it's called.
Postpartum depression.
That's it. Postpartum depression.
Yes.
And I feel like this lady, even the smallest of things are triggering her right now. It's because she's going through that.
Yes.
Right? So she's not mentally stable. And then when a man is not helping her and telling her things like, oh, I don't love you, I don't need you to raise my kid, it kind of fuels that feeling of lack of self-worth, because obviously your body is going through changes, mentally, physically, emotionally as well. You're very emotional. So I feel like this is what this lady is going
by a spouse, whether you're a man or a woman. No one can make you inferior without your consent.
Interesting.
No one.
Well put.
It is like what we have seen so many times saying, a boat does not sink because of the water outside.
Yes.
It sinks because of the water you allow on the inside. As a woman, there's a time you have to realize that this time I'm fighting a battle of my own. I will guard my self-esteem.
Yeah.
Number one, having a child is already a victory. I mean, you have walked 9 months carrying a child this far, and then the man is saying that he can raise his children. He should have started raising the child when he was in your womb, if he could have been able to do alone. Number two, I always say this: children need a father and a mother, unless a situation has happened where you find yourself single.
Yes.
But the best condition is where you have a good father and a good mother. So saying that he can raise, nakwambia sahi, you leave that kid in that home, au katoto ka 1 month, for 2 days, that man will come looking for you because he doesn't know what he can do.
Respectful.
He'll be more, but don't do that. Don't do that. I'm just saying, you need to remind him that. Those are statements that he's just making.
Yeah.
Now, saying that he doesn't love you, the first thing I will always say, the beauty of any woman is when they can love themselves. Like what you said, discovering who you are and not allowing what the other person is saying. But I will also say this to the woman: you need also to articulate your standards.
Right.
If you need help, sometimes, and I will say this to women, they sometimes tend to assume and imagine that your husband can be a mind reader, whereby you need help. If you need help with your child, say, can you hold this child for an hour or 20 minutes as I shower? But don't assume that now you are saying, nataka kwenda kuoga, that some men will not interpret that you needing help. Articulate your need to your husband when you need his help.
Communicate.
He communicate very well, and he'll be able to help you. But it is very rough for a man to say to his wife who has just given birth for one man, that's sikupendi. That is too rough. Why did you first, in the first place, sleep with her and give her a baby?
True.
You need to be gentle and to be nice.
Be a gentleman. Ian from Kino is on the line. Good morning, Ian. How are you today? Ian.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing awesome.
Yes, talk to us.
I'm awesome.
Ian, maybe you can reduce your volume, kidogo.
Okay.
Maybe you can tell us what would you like to contribute to the topic?
So, dealing with toxic relationship.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for calling. I don't know. I feel like there's the communication.
Yeah.
The network issue.
And there's a network issue. We're not hearing properly, but it's fine. We'll try and get Ian later on. But, you know, Judith, when we talk about trauma bonds, you know, this is something that I think is very, very common these days. People go through trauma bonds. They don't even know they're in a trauma bond. They have no idea what a trauma bond really is. You have already mentioned what a trauma bond is.
Yes.
Now, breaking that trauma bond is something that I'd like to highlight right now. Maybe you can tell us, if you are going through a bond with a toxic person, you both have gone through some life-changing experiences, and now you feel that you're stuck to each other for life because you went through something, and maybe you're hopeful that the way you overcame that particular incident or that experience, you'll also overcome these struggles that you're having or battles that you're having within your relationship. So how would you tell this person on how exactly to break the bond? Of course, when it's gotten too much. It's gotten to a point where there's nothing that can be done, and that relationship is not going anywhere. So how do you break a trauma bond?
First of all, I usually say, from the fullness of the heart, the mouth speaketh. You need to be able to, when we talk about therapy, is you have to go through a series of self-actualization.
Yes.
Go through a process of understanding yourself, and then start having a relationship with yourself all over again.
Okay.
Discover who you are. Because how trauma bond works is, when you're in a relationship with someone for so long, maybe this person has done so many firsts for you in your life. Maybe, assuming this is your first boyfriend, this is the first man you met, this is the first man you've ever slept with, this is the first man that has done XYZ for you, you become attached to that person. Then your identity becomes tied to this person. Now, everything you do around your life revolves around this person. Now, when this person becomes abusive, you will always go back to that cocoon of, he did this for me, he helped me at home, maybe you had a sick parent, this person came through in a big way. And what they usually do is, again, it comes from very abusive people, and this is both emotional, physical, and financial abusive people. And when this person is narcissistic, what they usually do is they try to be able to appease everyone around you but you, so that it becomes difficult for you to have people to run to, such that you will find someone like now, the lady that was saying that the husband is very calm. The whole world knows this is a very quiet person. So the first thing they will think is like, where you're the problem. Then, because they don't know what is happening at home.
In the home,
So these guys invest so much in people pleasing outside, so that you do not have anyone to run to.
Wow.
So that you do not have a soft landing. And then for them, they want to have you around for as long as they can. For as long as they can be able to control you.
Okay.
Now, for you to be able to go through a process of healing is look inside of you first. You need to find that strength, because again, just like addiction, when you're addicted to a drug, until you accept you have a problem, there is nothing any doctor, any counselor can do for you. Because when you look at yourself and you start saying, okay, I do love this person, but he's not good for me. Now, what can I do to be able to move forward? Then we start working on the journey of reminding you how good you are, how worthy you are, how self-sufficient you are. Like, there's nothing that you cannot do. Irrespective of where you come from, irrespective of whether you have a job or not, you have to do now the soul searching. Then we work on that self-awareness. We start building your self-esteem, we start reminding you of who you are as a person. Before you met this person, who were you? Okay. Now that you've met him, past this relationship, who can you be? You can become a better person. You can be able to grow. You can flourish. You are like a flower. You can be able to blossom. So once you start feeding your mind that, it's also just about shifting your mindset, because you need to move from that mindset of lack to that mindset of abundance. So that now when you accept yourself, and again, I usually tell people, we must forgive ourselves for the wrong choices that we made. Because again, choosing to love someone is a choice. You chose to be in that relationship, you chose to stay there for whatever reason. So you forgive yourself for those choices, and then you start asking yourself, I can do better. And what does it mean by you doing better? Because again, doing better is you're not trying to compare anyone else to where to the person that you're coming out from. It is you doing better because you're choosing yourself. What are your standards? What do you want for yourself? What are your deal breakers? What are the things that, the non-negotiables for you? So the moment you articulate that, then it becomes easier. You start attracting your own kind. Because I usually tell people, you attract who you are as a person. Amazing. Because when you think about yourself from a place of filth, you will attract all manner of filth. If you think of yourself from a place of abundance, you will attract that, because that is what you'll be projecting. You can only produce what you have inside. So it is only what it is within you that you can be able to project outside. Okay, yes. Thank you very much. Very well said, Judith. So Ian is back from Kino. Ian, good morning. How are you now?
I'm okay. Let's start this up.
Yes, talk to us. Have you been in a toxic relationship?
Oh, definitely.
He said definitely.
Differently. Ian, tell us, what was your experience like?
So, it was this lady's campus. Who started off very innocently as my reading partner.
A cheating partner.
A cheating partner.
Reading. We were studying with her.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we've lost Ian again, but from what I understood, it was something about cheating with someone you love.
Oh, goodness.
A reading partner.
I'm not.
Anyway, it's okay. I guess this is something that we will try to understand, Ian. But yes, parting shot, maybe you can just quickly, as we wrap up, we'll start off with you, Dr. Julius. Tell us how you would like to maneuver toxic relationships, what advice you'd like to give somebody who's watching, who's currently in one, what you'd like to say to them. Very quickly, we have only 30 seconds.
I will say develop support systems that you can be able to run to, and you can be able to share what you're going through. Number two, upgrade your life. Read a lot, so that you can be able to know how to, especially emotional, because a lot of these things, toxicity, is about emotions. Study on how to be stable emotionally. Number three, don't be afraid to reach out to a counselor and ask them to help you out in a situation.
Okay, and what about you? What would you like to say, Judith?
Number one, seek therapy. It is not a bad thing, and anyone can seek therapy. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. It doesn't matter what you've gone through. Always seek therapy.
It doesn't make you weak.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, the greatest strength and the greatest investment you can do for yourself is invest in a therapy session, even once. And the other thing is articulate your life.
Yes.
By articulating your life is work on your mindset, understand your emotions, have emotional intelligence, and keep reading about emotional intelligence. Understand yourself as a person, know what your boundaries are, know what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and then articulate those ones. Please have your non-negotiables very clearly articulated, so that whenever you are getting into any relationship, it's like an audition. Make sure the person that you are planning to date understands your boundaries very clearly. And if those people cannot respect that, it's okay to walk away.
Eish. Let's drop the mic. Thank you so much, Judith. Thank you so much, Dr. Julius. I've had a very insightful conversation with you, and I hope you've also learned something. If you are in a toxic relationship or you have been in one, now you know how to maneuver, your life around such relationships, and how to just maneuver love, or being in love with somebody who isn't right for you, who is toxic for you, and you don't even know sometimes. So yes, this has been Relationship Wednesday. Thank you for